Hey guys, my name is Isabella and I worked with Jenna and Rachel, and our project was COVID-19 through Nepali teachers' perspectives. Unlike many of you, our partners were already selected from Golden Gate College in Kathmandu, Nepal. This partnership was created as a way to strengthen UMW's connection to Golden Gate. We collectively agreed to study the teachers in Nepal and how they have perceived COVID-19 affecting their classes. Our partners were our main data collectors, and we surveyed 107 teachers that reside both inside and outside of the Kathmandu Valley. We had assigned our partners tasks with the distribution. One partner's job was to distribute the surveys outside the Kathmandu Valley. He lives outside of Kathmandu, so that worked well both ways. Our other two partners distributed surveys inside of Kathmandu, with one partner focusing on private schools and the other partner focusing on public schools. Our survey was distributed via snowball sampling. Once we gave our partners our surveys, they sent the survey via Google Survey to teachers that they know. Those teachers then sent the survey to more teachers that they know, and the cycle repeats itself.
Our main question was, how do teachers in Nepal, inside and outside of Kathmandu, perceive remote schooling during COVID-19? We look at factors such as internet access and supplies and devices to examine how students are affected and their potential educational outcomes.
So next we will be talking about the main obstacles we faced during our research project. So the first problem we faced was communication and cultural sensitivity. Clearly, one of our main obstacles during this project was the language barrier as well as the different time zones. Our partners spoke English very well, but we weren't sure if they understood the purpose of our research. We also didn't know what they wanted to receive out of working with us, besides understanding how we conduct research in the United States. When we met our partners over Zoom, we had to meet in the morning since there's a 10-hour and 45-minute time difference. When we talked to them over Zoom, there was one partner that spoke the entirety of each call, and he spoke for the other two partners. Through our Zoom calls, we learned to listen to their recommended research topics, and this ensured that we didn't pick a topic that could easily cause offense. So, after settling on a research topic, how the Nepali education system has been affected by COVID-19 through teachers' perspectives, we had to write a survey that could easily be distributed during the pandemic. This also brought on obstacles as we didn't want to unintentionally be disrespectful in the questions we asked, and we felt somewhat helpless in the survey's distribution because there was nothing that we could offer to help.
Our next obstacle was probably the largest, most unexpected issue that we ran into, and it was the timing of their festival, Dashain. We first found out about the festival in the beginning of October. We were in the process of creating our survey questions and our research plan when one of our partners sent us an email warning that there was a large festival at the end of October, and we would find a lowered response rate to our survey. After scheduling a Zoom meeting with our partners, we were stunned to find out that after October 30th, our partners will not be able to distribute the survey or send us responses for a month. Unbeknownst to us, Dashain is a highly celebrated festival in Nepal that corresponds with their school year. When the festival starts, everyone travels home for a month-long break from academics to spend time with family. We went from having a month and a half to create a high-quality survey and send it to our partners for distribution to a mere 2 weeks. This caused us to put everything else on hold and focus entirely on our survey. Our greatest success in this project was us meeting the deadline and sending our partners our finalized survey in time for them to both distribute it and also send back the responses for us to analyze. Looking back, we are unsure why there was a large miscommunication. Our partners could have assumed we had knowledge of their upcoming festival, and they did not think to bring it to our attention. We also did not make our partners aware of our class timeline, as we had to have the research project completed by the first week of December 2020.
With the time constraint of the festival and the pandemic, the typical research methodology used was not going to work. Since COVID-19 precautions were different around the globe, we were unsure of the sensitivities associated with our partners and the pandemic. It came to our attention that the whole country was in lockdown while we were trying to figure out our methodology, and each partner had a different comfort level associated with the virus, so in-person interviews were not an option. Since our partners were the ones that distributed the survey and collected the responses, we had to respect their concerns, and we went along with the method they saw best fit. This ultimately allowed us to narrow down our potential respondents, and we received more surveys than expected. Our topic of COVID-19 effects on the education system also posed challenges to our research, as COVID-19 research is new and therefore limited. Initially, we relied heavily on local news websites in Nepal for our research on COVID-19 effects on education and remote schooling. Our academic research is limited to that of the Nepal education system and inequalities prior to COVID-19 and the digital divide in Nepal that may have influenced COVID-19 preparedness. We represent our main findings with pie charts.
In our survey, the first question we asked the teachers was whether they lived in Kathmandu or not. The question applied to all teachers that took the survey, whether they were teaching remotely or not. So 57% of the respondents lived inside of Kathmandu.
Irrespective of whether the teachers are teaching remotely, we found that 67% of the respondents live in Kathmandu and teach in private schools normally, and 70% of the respondents who live outside of Kathmandu teach in private schools also.
We asked teachers if they are teaching remotely. The majority of our respondents, 53%, are not teaching remotely.
Of the 47% of teachers that are teaching remotely, the most difficult part of teaching remotely related to problems with internet access and technology. Some of the answers included unavailability of a good network, and teachers and students don't have access to the internet.
The majority of the teachers, 48%, reported that they have limited internet access.
We asked teachers if they are teaching remotely, what platform are they teaching on? The most popular remote learning platform chosen was the computer at 58%. The second most popular platform was other. We think that this other category may include using the phone, as we received short answer survey responses regarding phone usage, and the phone could potentially be used to dial into classes remotely.
In our survey, we asked teachers to rate their level of preparedness before they started teaching remotely from 1 to 4, 1 being not prepared at all and 4 being very prepared. 40% of the remote teachers reported that they were not prepared to teach remotely.
We also asked the remote teachers what resources would be beneficial to have while teaching remotely. 38% of the teachers responded that remote schooling devices like computers and phones would have been beneficial. The second most popular response was teaching supplies and teaching platforms at 33%. Teaching platforms encompasses apps like Zoom or YouTube.
We asked teachers what they were provided, if anything. Majority of respondents were only given physical school supplies such as books, worksheets, and pens or pencils, and a quarter of respondents were not given anything.
Based on the remote teachers' perspectives, the hardest part of remote schooling for their students was lack of internet or facilities, such as a computer or even platforms like Zoom or Viber. The second hardest thing for students is that their learning is decreasing.
Teachers also reported that attendance has been affected by remote schooling, with 42% of teachers claiming their students are somewhat attending class.
We asked teachers if they think their students miss their peers. Majority of respondents, 56%, said that they think their students miss being with their peers.
Following, 80% of remote teachers think that they are not as socially connected to their students.
48% of remote teachers reported that they feel their students are learning less through remote schooling. Out of the 48%, 63% of those respondents live outside of the Kathmandu Valley.
We asked teachers what subjects are not currently being taught, if any. The most frequent response from remote teachers is that all subjects are being taught. When not all courses are taught, practical education is the main course that is excluded.
We also wanted to give remote teachers a chance to share some benefits of remote teaching. Although we did get some answers indicating nothing was good about remote schooling, the majority said that it is beneficial due to increased knowledge. Now, this is contradictory to the last two graphs. However, increased knowledge in this question could refer to information about technology and time management.
So now we have some of our main takeaways. After analyzing our findings, we can come to these conclusions. First, the majority of respondents are not teaching remotely. For our survey, if the respondent doesn't teach remotely, they are finished with the survey. This raises many questions for us. If these teachers are not teaching remotely, what are they doing? Are they teaching in person? Are they not teaching at all? Because we didn't have any follow-up questions for these respondents, we don't know these answers.
It is also evident that teachers inside and outside of Kathmandu have difficulties with remote schooling due to issues with access to internet and remote schooling devices, not feeling prepared or fully prepared for remote teaching, student attendance, and feeling less connected to their students.
Also, remote teachers have shared that the physical school supplies that they were given have not necessarily been what's needed during remote schooling.
There is one aspect of the results that was difficult for us to come to a conclusion on because of conflicting reports. The remote teachers felt that their students are learning less through remote schooling, and the statistic was significant. However, when asked what the benefits of teaching remotely is, the majority of respondents reported increased knowledge. This finding seems contradictory to the previous finding. However, we think that maybe we shouldn't think of knowledge as school-related. We think that increased knowledge might pertain specifically to increased technological knowledge. At first glance, the statistics seems contradictory, but we think the teachers are reporting how both teachers and students are learning to navigate technology and internet issues. When we created the survey, we created separate questions asking about technology and separate questions asking about classroom knowledge. Had we maybe combined these question categories, the responses may have been clearer.
Throughout this unique research experience, it was extremely important to put full trust into our partners and their recommended methods. Their experiences as well as their input regarding certain decisions were critical to the research process. Since our partners were located in Nepal and the current pandemic did not permit standard communication between our own team members, communication was something that was critical to our research circumstance. Lastly, aside from our newly learned knowledge of basic research creation and submission, we had to learn how to be versatile. Through listening to our partners and implementing trust as stated, we were very flexible in our chosen research topic, and we each gained new skills individually that will be carried on throughout our future research endeavors.
Due to our unique research experience, we have learned to be very open-minded and not set on one idea. Our research topic changed and altered so much due to COVID, our partners' recommendations, and the time constraints. Through this project, although we only met over Zoom, Rachel, Isabel, and I have become very comfortable in working with each other, and trust was built between us. I was the person that mainly contacted our partners, and I made sure to relay all of the information to my group so we could discuss the next steps of action. Also, we learned that we should have communicated our timeline with our partners up front. That might have resolved the panic of creating a survey over a weekend. Overall, we are very appreciative of our partners and their help with our research, and if we were able to continue working with them next semester, we would further our research on issues presented in our data, such as the lack of resources, and we could possibly study parents' and students' perspectives.
Scary.
Can you hear me okay with my mic?
Yeah.
ASMR.